Have you ever stopped to think about what happens when life ends? Death is one of the few events we all know will happen, yet it carries an air of mystery, fear, and even fascination. But what if I told you that you won't die? Sounds absurd, doesn't it? This question opens the door to deep reflections, crossing the boundaries of science, philosophy, and the very essence of existence. The idea of not dying isn't just about escaping physical death. It forces us to rethink what it means to truly live. Is it about our body, our mind, or something more? These questions have echoed throughout human history, inspiring philosophies, religions, and even modern science to search for answers. But perhaps it's the act of questioning that matters most. In recent years, scientific advances have brought us closer to challenging mortality. From cryogenics to uploading consciousness, new possibilities are emerging. But what does it truly mean to not die? This isn't just a scientific question. It's deeply philosophical. And by exploring it, we realize it's much bigger than a simple debate between life and death. Reflecting on death has always shaped our actions. From ancient monuments to personal legacies, we are constantly seeking ways to not die in one form or another. Whether through leaving our mark on the world or connecting deeply with others, it's as if we're trying to transcend time. Here, science and philosophy converge, helping us understand this endless pursuit. Throughout this video, we'll embark on a journey together. We'll explore how science attempts to push the limits of life, how philosophy challenges our fear of mortality, and how we, as individuals, can find meaning amidst it all. Are you ready to rethink what it truly means to be alive? Science has been our most powerful tool for understanding life. It deciphers the mysteries of the universe, from the atoms that make up our bodies to the stars that illuminate the night sky. But when it comes to death, can science offer an alternative? This is a question many scientists are exploring, and the answers may be closer than we think. Take cryogenics, for example, a technology that promises to preserve our bodies or brains until science advances enough to bring them back to life. It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but companies already offer this service. Still, one question lingers. Even if we can revive the body, would the consciousness we know as us remain intact? Or would we simply be a shadow of who we once were? Another fascinating idea is consciousness uploading, where neuroscience and technology intersect. The concept is simple yet ambitious, mapping the human brain to transfer thoughts, memories, and even personality into a computer or virtual network. In theory, this would make us immortal, allowing us to exist in a digital space indefinitely. But would a backup of our mind truly be us? Or just a highly sophisticated copy? Then there's the pursuit of longevity. Advances in genetic editing and anti-aging medicines aim to slow down or even halt the aging process. If living longer became possible, how long would be enough? A century? 2? 1,000 years? And what would we do with all that extra time? Despite these advancements, science faces its own limitations. For instance, it can explain how the heart beats or how neurons create memories. But it still can't answer the ultimate question. What really happens to consciousness when we die? This is where science meets philosophy, and the lines between them blur. The idea of not dying through science challenges us to rethink what it means to live. Are we merely a collection of cells and electrical impulses? Or is there something more? Something that cannot be captured by machines or experiments? Exploring these questions reveals that the answers may not lie solely in labs, but also in the questions themselves. In the end, scientific advancements show us that not dying might one day be tangible. But they also raise profound ethical and philosophical questions. What does it truly mean to live forever? Science is trying to answer that, but this is only the beginning of the journey. While science seeks ways to challenge mortality, philosophy invites us to reflect on a deeper question. What does not dying truly mean? For many philosophical traditions, mortality gives life its meaning. The knowledge that everything ends motivates us to cherish the present. But if death no longer existed, would we still find purpose in our lives? Nihilism, particularly in its most radical form, suggests that life has no intrinsic meaning. Friedrich Nietzsche famously declared, "God is dead," arguing that the old structures that once gave life meaning have collapsed. Without them, we are left staring into the abyss of existential emptiness. In this context, not dying becomes paradoxical. If life has no inherent meaning, why would we want to prolong it indefinitely? But nihilism doesn't have to be despairing. Optimistic nihilism offers a different perspective, viewing the void as an opportunity. If there's no preordained meaning to life, we are free to create our own. From this viewpoint, not dying becomes less about living forever and more about living authentically, embracing the journey without guarantees of a final destination. However, there's a trap in this way of thinking. Many philosophers argue that life's purpose is intrinsically tied to its finiteness. Without the boundaries imposed by death, would we still value our moments? Immortality might lead to boredom, endless repetition, and a loss of meaning. After all, how can something be special if it never runs out? This tension between mortality and immortality reveals an existential dilemma. While we fear the end, we also need it to fully appreciate life. Death acts as a severe but necessary teacher, showing us the value of every fleeting second. Without it, existence might become flat, lacking urgency and passion. By connecting science and philosophy, we see that not dying isn't just about biology or technology. It's a challenge to how we perceive the value of life. Philosophy reminds us that immortality isn't just a promise of freedom, but also a test of emotional and psychological resilience. Are we truly prepared to face eternity? Ultimately, the meaning of not dying goes beyond evading physical death. It pushes us to question what truly matters and how we choose to live. Would immortality free us or trap us in an endless cycle? These reflections lead us to the next step, understanding how we might live in the face of existential emptiness. If living forever were an option, how would it change the way we see life? At first, the idea of immortality seems alluring. More time to achieve dreams, explore the world, and deepen relationships. But as we dig deeper, we realize that eternity brings challenges just as profound as the fear of death. Paradoxically, immortality could confront us with an even greater void. One of the main dilemmas would be the loss of urgency. Knowing that life is finite drives us to act. We work, love, and search for meaning because we understand we don't have unlimited time. Without this pressure, would we still value the little things? A hug, a sunset, or a moment of silence? Or would we start to take them for granted, seeing them as just another part of an endless timeline? Another challenge would be carrying the weight of countless memories. Imagine centuries of experiences, both joyful and painful, stacking up in your mind. Could we handle that kind of mental and emotional load? Or would our minds be forced to forget parts of ourselves just to make room for the new? This raises an important question. How much of our identity is tied to what we remember? Immortality might also isolate us. Living indefinitely would mean watching loved ones come and go while we persist. Relationships, the core of human connection, might lose their depth when seen against the backdrop of eternity. Would we still form meaningful bonds if we knew they were destined to end while we remain? From an existential perspective, the cycle of life and death plays a vital role in renewal. Death clears the way for the new ideas, people, and beginnings. Without it, the world could stagnate, trapped in a state of eternal sameness, where nothing truly changes or evolves. Reflecting on immortality helps us see that death, despite its inevitability, adds depth to life. Without it, everything might feel linear and predictable, lacking the highs and lows that make existence so vibrant. It's the absence of guarantees that makes every moment precious. Still, this doesn't mean we're entirely bound by mortality. We already find ways to transcend our limitations in the present. What does not dying look like in everyday life? That's what we'll explore next. While science and philosophy explore ways to challenge mortality, the truth is, in some ways, we already live forever. Think about how we influence the world around us. Our actions, ideas, and connections ripple outward, often lasting well beyond our physical lives. Perhaps not dying is less about eternal existence and more about the impact we leave behind. Take, for instance, inventors, artists, and leaders whose legacies endure through centuries. Though their lives ended long ago, their ideas continue to shape the world. This reminds us that immortality doesn't need to be literal. It can be achieved through the stories we tell, the changes we inspire, and the lives we touch. But this perspective isn't reserved for historical figures. Each of us leaves marks on the people and places we encounter. A meaningful conversation, a kind gesture, or even a simple smile can profoundly shape someone's life in ways we may never see. These seemingly small moments are like seeds we plant today, which might bloom in the future long after we're gone. Not dying also finds expression in how we connect with others. Sharing experiences creates bonds that stand the test of time. Memories of shared moments become part of who we are, keeping those we love alive within us, even after they're gone. In this sense, love and friendship are perhaps the most human forms of immortality. Moreover, immortality can exist in the things we create. Whether it's art, writing, or even a simple project, every act of creation is an attempt to defy time. It doesn't matter whether it's something grand or small. Creation is a way to challenge the inevitability of forgetting. Ultimately, not dying doesn't have to be a distant or technological goal. It's present in the choices we make every day, in how we live and how we connect. Life may be fleeting, but that doesn't stop us from filling it with meaning. Perhaps true immortality lies in living so fully that our presence continues to be felt, even when we're no longer here. And it's at this point where everything converges: science, philosophy, and humanity. Together they show that not dying isn't just a future possibility, but a reality we already experience. Let's conclude with a reflection on what it really means to live. Throughout this journey, we've explored the idea of not dying from different perspectives: scientific, philosophical, and deeply human. We've seen how science strives to push the boundaries of mortality, offering technologies that challenge our understanding of life and death. Philosophy, on the other hand, confronts us with the paradox of immortality, reminding us that life's value is often tied to its finiteness. But above all, we've discovered that not dying is not just about escaping physical death. It's about how we choose to live now. Through our actions, our connections, and the legacy we leave, we can transcend time in ways that are deeply meaningful. And perhaps this form of immortality is far more profound than simply living forever. Mortality, as inevitable as it may be, is what makes each moment unique. Knowing that our time is limited encourages us to love more deeply, create with more passion, and live with greater authenticity. By embracing the cycle of life and death, we find a freedom that allows us to live fully without trying to control the inevitable. So, immortality doesn't need to be an unattainable goal. It's already here, woven into the choices we make and the lives we touch. Not dying is about living in such a way that our presence continues to resonate, even when we're no longer physically here. And now, I leave you with this question. How do you choose to live? What seeds are you planting today that will grow tomorrow? If life is a journey, what legacy do you want to leave along the way? Perhaps the secret isn't about escaping death, but finding life in everything we do. What if, deep down, our fear of death is really a fear of never having truly lived? This question lingers in all of us. We spend so much time chasing goals, worrying about the future, that we often forget to truly live in the present. Death isn't just an end. It's a reminder that the only time we ever really have is now. Imagine for a moment that immortality was possible. What would you do with infinite time? Would you love more? Create more? Or would you keep delaying everything, waiting for the perfect moment that might never come? In the end, perhaps what truly scares us isn't the end itself, but the possibility of not making the most of the time we have. So I leave you with this question. If today were eternal, what would you do differently? Maybe the answer is already within you.